I'm really happy.
What happened to you?
What do you mean?
You're happy? You're happy now? The Meredith I knew was a force of nature, passionate, focused, a fighter. What happened to you? You've gone soft. Stammering about a boyfriend and saying that you're waiting to be inspired. You're waiting for inspiration. Are you kidding me? I have a disease for which there is no cure. I think that would be inspiration enough.
Mom.
Listen to me, Meredith. Anyone can fall in love and be blindly happy, but not everyone can pick up a scalpel and save a life. I raised you to be an extraordinary human being. So imagine my disappointment when I wake up after 5 years and discover that you're no more than ordinary.
No one wants to be ordinary. To be ordinary is to be like everyone else, to be unremarkable. Yes, many people want to be normal, especially those who are marginalized, but we all strive to be recognized as unique, important, and extraordinary. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, as the desire for greatness can in turn inspire it, but often it is a futile pursuit, as those who seek to be important and different often find themselves pursuing these traits in a manner which makes them commonplace. It isn't the seeking of greatness that makes you great, just as good intentions don't necessarily correlate to a good outcome, but rather the path of reaching another goal creates uncommon milestones and achievements. In simpler words, everyone wants to be special, but few people actually are. Many people want to climb Mount Everest, but only a few people actually do. One of the greatest examples of this can be seen in today's most popular trend, gender identity.
What is gender fluid? Gender fluid is a gender identity that fluctuates between or outside of the gender binary. You know, like man and woman. Gender fluidity is represented by the gender fluid flag created in 2012 by J.J. Poole. The blue stands for masculine gender, pink for feminine gender, purple for both genders, black for neither gender, and white for all genders. Gender fluid people, like myself, experience different gender identities at different times, so it's always important to ask us what our pronouns are to show us respect. Follow for more.
I would have thought this entire time. I've known since I was 30 at least that I was non-binary. I'm 33 now, right? And this whole time people would be asking, what are your pronouns? And I say, he, they, she, any. I really don't have one. I don't care because I don't think of myself as a pronoun. I think of myself as Jesus. So you would think, like I did, like non-binary or they would fit, right? But then I just heard a term the other day that changed my life. Apagender. Somebody left out of my comment section, and I was like, what is apagender? Because agender is its own thing, and that never fit. So I was looking at it, and I was like, apagender. I wonder if that stands for apathetic gender? And I asked them, I said, is that like being apathetic in gender concerns? Yes! It turns out that this is exactly what it is, that you don't really care about gender, that none of them really apply, and it doesn't matter if somebody assigns, like if they call you he, it doesn't affect you negatively or positively. And I'm like, that is it. That is me. I am apagender, because agender, no. That means that you don't have a gender and you're still concerned about it. Like, you don't identify and that is your identity. But apagender is like, I don't care no matter what. I'm apathetic. Amazing. So, hey, I'm Jesus. I'm apagender.
Someone who's genderqueer is just someone who feels like their gender falls outside of the male-female binary that our society has set up. You might say, well then why wouldn't you just use the term non-binary? Because, I don't know, some people just don't. I don't. I'm genderqueer, and I don't feel like I'm a man, and I don't feel like I'm a woman. I feel like I'm kind of somewhere in between. Genderqueer can also function as like an umbrella term, similar to trans. Like trans people are just people who aren't cis, and then you have these other identities that fall under it. Here's what you'd find if you Googled it, but I'd rather just explain it to you because this just feels super impersonable. So I'm not bummed that you asked, and it's not a dumb question. I think what it boils down to is that genderqueer is just another term that we found in our language to describe a non-cis experience of gender. It works for some people, and others it doesn't, and that's okay.
Gender identity stems from postmodernism, which likes to deconstruct everything, even if doing so leaves you with an inoperational definition. Woman is therefore no longer a word referring to half the population, but a label that can be chosen based on personal affiliation with stereotypes and associated societal standards.
Define woman. Go, please. One of you.
A person who their internal idea of what they are is a woman.
Terrible definition. Coming from a lesbian, that destroys the very concept of our sexual orientation. Just saying that it's an idea.
Why?
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 Because you can't be connected and sexually attracted to somebody's brain.
Your word is woman.
Woman. Can I have the country of origin, please?
I don't, probably England or Germany or something. Woman.
Can I have the definition, please?
Why don't you ask Judge 1?
Can I have the definition of woman, please?
No.
Why not? I'm allowed to ask for definitions, right?
A woman is women.
What she's trying to say is that each person gets to define for themselves what a woman is.
So can you define it?
No.
Why? I just want to know the definition of woman.
And that makes you a hateful little bigot, Lincoln.
I don't hate anybody.
How about we just use it in a sentence? Abortion is a woman's right.
UPenn swimmer Leah Thomas is a woman.
I'm a woman.
I'm not a woman. Woman.
How can you use it in all those sentences if you don't know the definition?
Just spell woman!
Okay. Woman. W-O-M-A-N. Woman.
Wrong! It's got an X in it now for some reason. W-O-M-X-N. Now get out of here!
Non-binary refers to not feeling like a man or a woman, though it is often conveniently ignored that neither men nor women are subject to a limited range of emotions, hobbies, or non-sex-based experiences. And of course, there's the myriad of other identities which are immediately apparent as nonsensical, from identifying as a different age to a different species. While some of these identities are less common than others, a majority of those who identify as such do so out of a belief that their experience is just so different and more special than anyone else. Obviously, no woman can dislike femininity, or enjoy traditionally masculine hobbies, so instead of being a tomboy or a gender non-conforming woman, she must not be a woman at all. And obviously, not being a flat stereotype of either gender means you must not be male or female. And obviously, a steadfast belief of gender stereotypes, to the extent that not being an exact match with them means you cannot be a man or a woman, is subversive and unique, and not at all supported by pretty much every culture on Earth since the start of the patriarchy. Often these labels are accompanied by a myriad of requests to accommodate and a sense of victimization. One could extrapolate that since actual extraordinariness is out of reach, they instead settle for being extraordinarily oppressed and victimized instead.
They did an experiment with a group of women, and they put scars on their faces, and they told these women that they're going into a job interview, and the purpose of the experiment is to find out whether people with facial disfigurements face discrimination. They showed them the scars in the mirror, the women saw themselves with these scars, and as they led them out of the room, they said, we're just going to touch it up a little bit. And as they touched it up, they removed the scarring completely. So the women went into the job interview thinking that they are scarred, but actually being their normal selves. And the result of the experiment is that those women then came back reporting massively increased level of discrimination. Many of them came back with comments that the interviewer had made that they felt were referencing their facial disfigurements. This is why I think this ideology of victimhood is so dangerous, because if you preach to people constantly that we're all oppressed, then that primes people to look for that.
After all, it's far easier to claim injury than it is to actually accomplish something. The key difference is that injury can be claimed and is often not allowed to be scrutinized, while accomplishments must be in the limelight to be acknowledged. However, this trend can also be found in the decimation of subgenres and the flattening of labels into nothing more than accessories. Take, for example, emo or scene kids. Emos in the early 2000s centered around the music scene, which had its own fashion which accompanied the themes of the music and the appearances of the artists themselves. Those who participated during this era have rarely abandoned it entirely because of a love of the music itself. They did not choose the label for the sake of the label, but as a descriptor of their music appreciation and other interests. The same goes for grunge, which originated in Seattle amongst the rise of Nirvana and Pearl Jam, the cheap and plentiful offerings of flannel in nearby thrift shops, and the relative poverty of those bands that required thriftiness. Capitalism is to blame for part of this, as the idea that you can buy happiness or womanhood or any other intangible thing arose from the machine which continually creates new products to buy. and new problems to fix, and not so coincidentally, continues to perpetuate a cycle of purchasing. It allows you to assign extra value to each purchase and to attain social capital through acquiring labels, rather than by having to do anything to earn them. This, in turn, illustrates how inextricable gender identity is from both misogyny and capitalism, as gender is thus defined primarily by what can be purchased, by aesthetics and stereotypes, rather than anything innate. This, dear viewers, is where we part. I'm like 45 inside and I like Grey's Anatomy, and I was rewatching it recently, and the scene with Meredith and her mother is one of the most impactful parts of the series, I think, that they often refer to later on, in part because, like, no one wants to be told that they're ordinary. No one wants to be told that they're essentially basic, and I get that. I do. No one wants to be ordinary, but we have to actually do something to not be ordinary. You can't just claim that you're special and then expect it to be so. And on that matter, we're all unique in our own small ways, and some people are satisfied with that. You can be satisfied with that. You can recognize that you are special in a way that is not necessarily in neon lights on the marquee. But I feel like gender ideology and the commercialism and consumerism that we currently are entrenched in makes it difficult for people to come to terms with the fact that we're special, but not that special. Anyhow, if you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!